What makes a great movie scream? Well, it's got to be big. It's got to be loud. It's got to be dramatic. And it's got to fit the visuals. My name's Steve Lee. I'm a sound effects wrangler and film historian. I run the website HollywoodLostandFound.net. It's a collection of stories and bits of history about movie props, sound effects, and other film trivia. One of the most popular stories recently has been about a sound effect called the Wilhelm Scream.
Oh, the Wilhelm Scream. Jesus Christ, the Wilhelm Scream.
Which was recorded for a movie in 1951 called Distant Drums with Gary Cooper. And they needed the sound of a man getting bitten by an alligator.
It's a sound editor joke. In 1953, a movie called The Charge at Feather River, a Warner Brothers Western, used this scream.
There's a character named Wilhelm who gets an arrow in his leg.
And there's this particular signature scream that he did when he fell. And Warner Brothers liked it enough to start sort of using it in other places.
Sound effects designer Ben Burtt, who did all the Star Wars films and Indiana Jones films, sort of adopted it as his personal sound signature, and consequently he has used it in all the Star Wars films, all the Indiana Jones films.
The sound editors, Richard Anderson being one, and Mark Mangini is another. I was working with those guys at that time, and I remembered the scream. And so I stuck it in a bunch of pictures of mine, and I would say probably most of the movies that I've done have got this scream in there somewhere.
Since then, it has sort of been passed along the sound effects grapevine to different editors who care and appreciate its history. And I put the story on my website, and Ben has accused me of starting a cult of sorts because lots of film fans all over the world have heard this scream, and so far we have over 130 titles on the list of films that have used the Wilhelm Scream. Well, first of all, you can hear somebody slating the recording.
A man getting bit by an alligator and he screams.
And then he does 3 screams, these short pained screams. That are pretty good. These have been used quite a bit too.
The first one you did up here was much better.
The first one you did up here was much better, he says.
No, not an owl. A real scream.
Wants a real scream of pain. And there's the famous one. And that's it. And here's what it sounds like backwards. The sound editors who use the Wilhelm Scream are sort of putting it in as a tribute to sort of the sound effects lore that has come before. Yeah, it's sort of become sort of a competition, or maybe even sort of a way of communicating between ourselves and saying hello to each other. You hear a Wilhelm Scream in the movie, and you're suddenly trying to figure out who supervised the sound in that film. Is that somebody I know? Who did that? Joe Dante even worked it into an episode of Masters of Horror, the episode called Homecoming.
And we are definitely not giving up to a bunch of crippled, stinking, maggot-infested, brain-dead, zombie dissidents! Come and get it!
I stuck it in. It's a zombie scream now. It's when some zombies get shot, they make the Wilhelm Scream.
Maggot-infested!
This was always something that was so below the radar that no one ever noticed other than the people who already knew.
And another one of the Masters of Horror directors, Tobe Hooper, had it in his film Poltergeist. There's a war movie on a TV in the kitchen and the little girl's watching it.
Sometimes this scream is mixed in subliminally because you can sense it and feel it even if you can't hear it.
We're not absolutely 100% certain who screamed the Wilhelm Scream, but some paperwork on the film Distant Drums suggested that several people were called in to do post-production sound bits. One of the people on the list was Sheb Woolley, who was most famous for the song Purple People Eater. We think that he's the most likely candidate, and after talking to his widow, he apparently was quite proud of the fact that he did screams and anguish cries for movies periodically, but they didn't know that it had become this huge thing, so I think he would have been happy. There's even a punk rock band out there called a Wilhelm Scream that I guess they're fans of the Scream too. One of the films I worked on, Over the Hedge, I had a little dragonfly that flies into a bug zapper and gets killed. And I pitched up a Wilhelm really, really high for the little bug voice. So I killed the dragonfly. If it's on my list, I try to be damn sure that it is indeed a Wilhelm, that it's the old 1951 recording and not some imitation or a variation that was manipulated too much.
Now that it's above ground and now people are finding out about it, it isn't nearly as much fun to use anymore. And in fact, I'm proud to say that it's not in my current episode.
Ben Burtt has said he's going to stop using it, so that's certainly an end of an era for Wilhelm. But I think that it's out there. I think it'll keep getting used. I'm still using it.
Can you imitate the Wilhelm?
I don't know. Ah! No, I can't.
An all-new season of Masters of Horror, only on Showtime or anytime on Showtime On Demand.